Our normal lives have been affected during these past few months because of the recent pandemic of the 2019 coronavirus, also known as the COVID-19. And what the COVID-19 basically is, it's just a respiratory disease transmitted from one person to another, and it attacks more people that are like in their older age, 65 and over. And as Group One, we decided why not talk about this. This is a concern for the whole world. You know how we have a disease that's been spreading from country to country. It emerged in China, but it has moved on, and we are now being affected by it here in the United States. Something that was once viewed as something to laugh about, a joke. I remembered when we would see in social media about the coronavirus, we wouldn't think it was a big deal. But now our lives are being affected every single day. So we would just talk about briefly about how it's been affecting overall how the essential industry views it. Trevor will be talking about that for us today. How places are being shut down, how they're being affected economically and financially. Adilene will be talking about that. And how at the end of the day, there are two perspectives. Should we stay inside or should we go out? And Zach will be talking about that today. Also, this whole coronavirus thing has affected a lot of things, including mental health. And Juan will be talking about that, and also how we can control our mental health a little bit better, how we can stay in control of our lives, of our sanity, by meditating. And Juan will be elaborating on that today. So without further ado, let's sit back, enjoy some snacks, and let's get into this presentation.
Amidst the coronavirus pandemic, our nation's essential workers have never ceased in their hard work to keep our nations and our communities strong. Many people do not understand the risk that the essential workers are putting themselves at, going to work day after day to keep our nation successful and running the way that it should be. I challenge each and every one of you to thank an essential worker the next time you see one. Thank them for the job that they're doing to keep our nation running and despite the risks, showing up to work every day to make it so that you can have all that you need to continue to live your life the way that you want to. Well, despite the quarantine that we're under. The fears and thoughts that could be going through essential workers' heads fall on a broad spectrum. On one end of the spectrum, we have the pride that they feel for being able to help their nation, and that American pride that only we, as members of the United States of America, can feel. This is self-pride that I respect in all the essential workers. Many people see self-pride as a poor personality trait and see a lack of humility as something that should be worked on in order to improve character. However, when I see the pride that essential workers have, I see a pride for their country, a pride that should never be hidden, a pride that should never be disguised as something else. These workers are proud that they can be able to help their nation and be able to help those around them. Many people are from essential industries that we may not even think about. Like in an article written in the Los Angeles Times, 10 essential workers were interviewed. One of them says, quote, "First off, as union workers, and we are proud to serve the city of Los Angeles and to protect the environment." This was said by Simboa Wright, a wastewater collector for the city of Los Angeles. Many people don't think of essential industries as wastewater collection. I personally think of firefighters, policemen, grocery stores, farmers. I would never have thought of something like that. Many people do not recognize all the essential workers that we have in our communities. These workers are proud that in order to say that they have helped those around them. There's no better feeling than saying that you were able to help someone, much less able to help your entire community. On the other side of the spectrum, we have the fear that the essential workers could be feeling. Day after day, they show up to work and they put themselves in harm's way in order to make it so that we have what we need. Thursday, May 15th, an article was published in the Yakima Herald. An article with the headline, "Thursday sees the 7th Yakima Valley farm workers protesting conditions during COVID-19 pandemic." Many packing facilities in the Yakima Valley have had workers protest that they do not have sufficient safety conditions, such as the separation, the social distancing. Some companies have put up plastic barriers to separate workers, or just the protective safety glasses and the N95 masks to protect from germs that are airborne. These workers are protesting with the thoughts that they are willing to lose their job and risk their financial income in order to sustain the health of their family members and their loved ones around them. As an essential worker myself, I fall in the middle of this spectrum. I am proud to be able to serve my nation and know that if I continue to work hard, I can put food on the table for millions of people across our nation, whether it be people in our local area or people where we ship our produce across the country. I also am a little bit fearful whenever I go to the store because there's always the imminent possibility that I could contract the virus and spread it to my coworkers around me. We need to be thinking of our essential workers in a new way. When people think of heroes, they think of either superheroes or the police officers and the firefighters and even the men and women serving our nation overseas to protect our freedom. However, during this pandemic, I believe that the definition of a hero needs to be redefined. We need to redefine heroes as somebody who is looking out for others, helping those around them. Our essential workers are redefining the definition of an American hero.
Due to the COVID-19, when it first started, there were businesses and companies who were being affected, either small or big. They either had to shut down some businesses or they had to leave some businesses open. And it has either affected them in both ways, as those who are open or those who are closed. Now, with the shutdown from the business that have been shut down, the Washington processors, potatoes, they have 90% of Eastern Washington potato products that are used in restaurants and other food service establishments. So with them being shut down, it has harmed them as they have 1 billion potatoes of last year's potato crops remaining in storage. And this leads worries to the current crops. And so for those Washington growers, they are worried about their current crops as some are planning to kill this year's crops since there is no market at the moment. And as well as wineries, they are also, at first they were being shut down, and they were shut down, and some are starting to reopen, but with a certain amount of people. But the wineries, they have to depend on restaurants and wine tasting to make profit out of it. But since almost every restaurant, every restaurant has been affected, so with that, they can't really sell their market to any restaurants or any other place. And this has affected them as well. And there are restaurants and other places that have been shut down. And due to those companies and businesses being shut down, none of them are really making any profits. So the small businesses especially won't really make it next year. And there are also businesses that are open that are being affected as well, as the Yakima Valley farm workers have been protesting to take social distancing more serious, to take action and self-regulation and safety regulations, as they feel that they aren't really taking serious action towards this and they are worried that their health will be affected by this. So with that, some businesses want to reopen and some businesses want to close down. Those who are open are worried about their safety, and those closed down are worried about their profits and their companies. And there are some businesses that are open at the moment, but with that, they are making even more profit than others. As the fast food restaurants, they're mainly making more profit since a lot of people can't really go to stores or stuff like that to get certain things. So they go to fast food restaurants and they are making more profit out of this, as well as Walmart, since a lot of people need their supplies and everything. They have been going to Walmart and they're gaining more profit, as well as the Walmart distribution center. They are making more profit out of this. And some semi-truck drivers, they are actually losing money out of this. And with that, there are more benefits than others. So some companies and businesses and stores and all that are making the same amount. They aren't even losing or gaining more money. It's just normal. And others, it's not for them. And only essentials right now at the moment, businesses and companies and stuff like that, are open at the moment. So with that, many companies are either losing or gaining money, or the same, as well as businesses and stores and all that. So it just usually depends how people feel in a certain way about the certain situation due to COVID-19. Some worry about their health, some worry about the profit, and some are just worrying in general. And it is serious in a way to be worrying about every situation, how businesses are being affected. And some have been protesting to either reopen businesses, companies, and stuff like that, or to either shut down and take more care and social regulations and stuff like that, with the more social distancing to take it more serious and all that. So it's a really outcome from between.
Majority of people are ready for things to go back to normal. People are facing quarantine stresses like financial stress, mental and health stress. From experience, I have not faced the COVID stress nearly as much as other people have. My mother being one of those people that have faced it a little harder. She's a hairstylist, and because she's not an essential business, financially it's been a little tough. However, with unemployment and the stimulus checks, things have made it a little easier for her, but she's still stressed out because she's not doing what she's been doing for so long. She's sitting at home, bored, wants to go out and do something. And I feel like there's a lot of people that are in that predicament. So with these stresses, it's important that we get things reopened. Now, the CDC did a social distancing model, and they did show that social distancing and quarantine does help reduce the spread of COVID-19. Now, reducing the spreads allows hospitals to be able to build their capacity for COVID-19 in the event that a second wave, or in the event that the first wave got so extreme that the hospitals were going to be overran. Now, there's a lot of these hospitals that are not facing a COVID stress. Instead, they're facing more of a financial stress. A lot of these hospitals canceled their elective surgeries, and they have a lot of downtime in preparation for the COVID-19 influx of patients. Now, without these elective surgeries and without patients coming in, maybe because of fear of going to a hospital for something, let's say you just had a mild illness, you didn't want to go to a hospital because of the fear of the COVID virus. So these hospitals are facing a little bit of a financial crisis as well. Not all hospitals. Obviously, there are going to be some hospitals in some highly populated areas that are going to be tested a lot more than, let's say, hospitals here in Richland or Kennewick, Pasco. Another issue in the hospitals is going to be the personal protection equipment. So face masks, any of those things, we still have a shortage of. I think it's getting better. I see a lot more places having face masks, more official face masks, not bandanas. So social distancing has helped to get them to that point with some other consequences. So in order to get us to reopen, we're going to need to have increased testing. Obviously, we've heard this before, and they're obviously working on it. Increased testing is going to allow counties, states, any region to be able to accurately assess the COVID virus in each area and be able to act accordingly. Let's say a COVID virus increases in one county but not in the other. Maybe only that county needs to be maybe more quarantined. Let's say they already went up a couple of steps in the phases. So then they would need to cut it back a little bit in order to control the virus. So being able to act accordingly is going to be really important. Also, reopening, businesses are going to need to follow a lot of social distancing practices and be able to handle that in a way that isn't going to disrupt the normalcy of life. Obviously, when restaurants open back up, you're not going to be able to sit, 2 feet away from the person next to you. Or if you go to a bar, you're not going to sit right next to somebody. There's going to be some regulations in there, and we're all going to have to get a little used to things being a little strange. I work at Starbucks, and we've done non-contact service kind of methods where we put drinks in cups and then hand the cup out the window to avoid contact. And people have had a little bit of issues with that. So it's all a habit that we're all going to need to get into, and I don't believe that's going to be going away anytime soon. So when we reopen the economy and the businesses, we're going to have to control social distancing and that to be able to control the COVID virus. Now we're going to have to go from social distancing to reopening. So there's going to be a little bit of steps in order to get there, as states are doing with the phases.
Now I'm going to be telling you guys how this coronavirus has affected the mental health of many of us. I know most of you guys know that being in quarantine is very stressful. It can get very boring. Well, as many of you guys know, your mental health is something that you guys should be taking care of, and it's something that you guys should be keeping healthy. Having bad mental health is not fun, and no one should experience it. I'm basically saying that no one should experience anxiety and depression, which is one of the main mental health issues. I will be letting you know how this recent pandemic has affected the mental health of many of us, and how meditation can help improve the mental health of all of us. Okay, so this pandemic and quarantine can cause lots of mental health issues. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, there are 7 main ways people are reactions that ultimately lead to mental health issues. And yeah, the first main reaction that people have is the concern about protecting oneself from the virus because of the chances of getting the illness. Many people are, overreacting, in my opinion, which can cause, mental health issues. And the second reaction is concern that regular medical care or community services may be disrupted due to facility closures or reduction in services and public transport closure. Well, yeah, this has to be done because, in order to keep all the cases to go down, but many people feel as it has to be open because, they can't continue their days without it, which, also causes mental health issues. The third reason is feeling socially isolated. Well, yeah, being in quarantine, it can make anybody feel socially isolated because, you have to stay inside. You can't really talk to your friends unless you FaceTime them and stuff like that. But it's nothing like being together and hanging out because, social distancing and stuff like that. And the fourth reason is guilt of loved ones that help them with activities of daily living. That basically means that, your friends, the people that you love, well, mainly family, won't be able to, help you. And yeah, the fifth reason is increased levels of distress if they have mental health concerns before the outbreak. Well, yeah, basically people that already have mental health issues will, have a severe case of it. And 6, live in lower income households or have language barriers. Well, yeah, people that don't really get a lot of, income will suffer the most because, in most cases they'll be unemployed and, they won't have any money to pay rent. People that are, that aren't financially stable will, have a very tough time during this pandemic. And the 7th reaction is the experience of stigma because of age, race, or ethnicity, disability, or perceived likelihood of spreading COVID-19. Yeah. Now I'm going to be telling you guys why meditation is the best way for anyone to get a better mental health. Literally, anyone can meditate if you believe in God, if you believe in if you're part of a religion. Praying is one of the main meditations out there. Many of you probably did not know that praying was considered meditation, but it is, and it's one of the biggest ones. According to the article, How Meditation Can Improve Your Mental Health by Ashley Welk, it talks about a study that was conducted with 3,125 people that suffered from anxiety and depression. The study proved that mindful meditation programs over an 8-week span reduced anxiety and depression by a great extent. And there's also many other studies that prove that meditation can improve anybody's mental health. In conclusion, although there are many other things that this pandemic is affecting, our mental health is one of the biggest things that it's affecting. In my opinion, the biggest thing that this pandemic is causing, out of all the things, is, our mental health.
Thank you, Trevor, Alilene, Zach, and Juan, for filling us in with that information. That is sort of essential during this time. We need to know, we need to stay informed, we need to stay warned about what's going on around us. It was especially important to understand the people that work essential jobs from the essential industry. We need to understand how they feel, what they're going through, and we need to understand also what small business owners are going through as well. They're suffering financially, economically. They need to provide for their families. That business, a lot of businesses going under. It's gravely concerned. Also, Zach, for filling us in with making a decision. What's reasonable? Should we stay home? Should we not? Should businesses reopen? Should they stay closed? Having in mind about the whole quarantine. And also Juan for overall helping us how to maintain a good, healthy life mentally and physically by meditating. A lot of people underestimate it, but during this time, we should take benefit of all the time that we have to spend with our loved ones. Maybe you do something that you wanted to do for a long time, small project and whatnot. But meditation is key, and we thank all of you guys, like I said again, for filling us in with that information. And from Group 1 to you guys, thank you guys for listening to us. And now is the time for you to go over all the information that we just went through with you guys and really take into account what counts for you. You want to take a decision that is smart, safe, that overall is going to help you and the people around you. So thank you and have a nice day.